What if your mother was in prison and your brothers and even your childhood sweetheart? What if you had 16 relatives who were incarcerated, many of them cycling in and out of the California prison system? From the time Kamika Hebbert was a toddler, this has been her life. But legacy is not destiny, and in Kamika's mind, it's family over everything. With us today is Amy Krause, the producer of her documentary, We've Been Sentenced, which deals with this very subject. Welcome to the Pace of San Diego.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Well, let's talk about Amy Krause first. Tell me, how did you get into producing?
Well, I was a theater kid. I was in my first play in the 8th grade. I went to college for theater, got a BFA from Wayne State University. I was always very practical, and I had a minor in communications, and Detroit had a huge production community because of the auto industry. And so I worked my way through college on production crews, so I was very familiar with production and the creative opportunities, and it was a better way of going through school than waitressing, so I figured it gave me a leg into the industry as it was.
Right. And didn't you tell me about a certain person that was...
Yes, I was a hostess at a restaurant, and they were giving me a goodbye party. I went to the American Academy of Dramatic Arts in New York for one semester. I was having a goodbye party. This patron of the restaurant came in. She asked me what was happening. I told her. She said, well, I produce commercials. If you ever need anything, let me know. And I didn't need anything in New York because I returned to Detroit, where I'm from, but I certainly wanted a job in Detroit, and she was the one that sort of introduced me to the world of production.
And then you got into it.
Yes, Evelyn Lee. She changed my life.
That's
for
great.
Sure. Yeah.
She did. How did you eventually meet or find out about Kamika?
Well, I knew about Kamika from my sister-in-law, who is a co-worker with Kamika at the San Juan Unified School District in Sacramento, and they work with foster kids. And I had heard about Kamika and the stories about and struggles that she had with her family, and then my sister-in-law connected us, and she thought that I would be able to sort of guide Kamika in telling her story, to use that to have a bigger platform outside of the school district to do her work with foster kids.
And how did you do that? Did you do it online from here to
Yeah,
Sacramento?
you know, we talked a lot on the phone. Kamika wrote a play called We've Been Sentenced, which excerpts of that play are in the documentary, and my sister-in-law and some other women in the community helped Kamika produce the play. And so I went up for the premiere of the play that was put on as a fundraiser, and we videotaped the play, and that sort of was the big spark of, oh, I get it now. Because, you know, until you see Kamika in action and you hear and see her passion, it's, you know, it's a story, but it really came to life for both of us, and we started collaborating. And then, unfortunately, most of the film was produced and edited during the beginning of the pandemic, so it was long distance.
Right. So what is then what did Kamika do after she left the foster care system?
Well, she continued to work as an advocate for foster youth in a professional capacity, which is what her job is now. And then from there, she's taken it outside of the classroom and, you know, does workshops and really has made it her life's passion to sort of break this cycle and the connection between foster care and multi-generational incarceration.
Tell us about ACE.
ACE is a wonderful organization. ACE stands for Adverse Childhood Experiences, and it's the ACE Resource Network. And they're a large nonprofit that works with children to identify these adverse conditions that contribute to challenges later in life. And they are also working to interrupt that cycle of these adverse experiences and change the outcome for these kids.
So she's been very active in working with foster youth also, right?
Kamika, yes, that's what Kamika's professional job is in the school district, and then because she was a product of the foster system, She recognizes the pros and cons. She recognizes the connection between kids that are in foster care and the connection to incarceration, and she's really trying to stop that cycle. And she can speak to these kids from a place of experience. You know, she is an adult, but she was them. Their experience was her experience, and so she has a lot of credibility with them and a lot of insight and compassion and empathy in a way that I think you can only have if you are a part of the system. And she's a success story. So we want to, you know, scream that from the rooftops.
And she was with a foster family for how long?
Yes, from the time she was 2 months old, she was with one foster family who they were had a family connection, and then they officially became her foster family, a very strong, devoted family of some very strong women. And Kamika credits them for a lot of the success that she's had in life.
Right. And her mother was in prison. Did she get out?
Her mother was in and out of prison throughout Kamika's life. You get a little hint of that in the documentary. And yes, eventually her mother was out of prison and died during the post-production of this film, unfortunately. But they went on to have a relationship as adults.
Now, out of those 16 incarcerated family members, what has happened to them?
Well, many of them cycled in and out of prison. Her 2 brothers are currently incarcerated, and one of her nephews, who is featured in the documentary, was out of prison when we interviewed him, obviously, but unfortunately he's back in prison, and hopefully this will be his last time.
Well, this is very enlightening. This film that you have is very enlightening.
Thank you.
This is a subject that's not widely discussed, the children of the prisoners and the incarcerated, and I think it needs to be discussed more.
Yeah, I think so too. You know, you never know who you're sitting next to at work or,
Right.
you know, in a social situation and what they're carrying, and that is really what struck me about Kamika. She has such light and such energy, and you would never know what her life circumstances are just by casually meeting her. And so part of the hope of the film was to really personalize these statistics, because the statistics are staggering. And those of us who may not know anyone who's incarcerated ever in our lives have a certain sort of, I don't know, preconceived bias. But they're people, you know, and they shouldn't be judged for the worst day of their life or the worst mistake they ever make forever. They are so much more than that, as are their family members. And that's the hope with the film, and the hope with Kamika's work is to really celebrate all of who you are and keep those family connections strong despite some very challenging, difficult circumstances.
I'd love to hear what you're working on now.
Well, I am still producing in the advertising community, so I have a lot of projects going. But I have a personal project, a feature-length documentary I'm working on called Latka versus Hamantash, the movie. And it's about the Latka-Hamantash debate, which started at the University of Chicago in 1946. Wow. And it's a very academic, very funny debate on what is the more perfect Jewish food, the latke or the hamantash, which is a ridiculous premise, and debaters need to debate from their area of academic expertise. So it's a send-up of academia and of Jewish culture and food, and it's very fun and funny.
I can't wait to see that one.
Thank you.
It's really
Appreciate
great.
it.
I want to thank you so much, Amy, for being here and sharing your documentary with us. Really.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. I'm very excited to be here.
And we are now privileged to watch Amy Krause, producer and director, her documentary, We've Been Sentenced.
When you receive a letter, it feels like you can really just feel that person. With the writing, you're taking your time. With the phone, it's really just a rushed conversation. The first letter that I remember getting came from my mom. I was a little girl, and I remember like it was a holiday card, birthday card. So that was the first time I remember getting anything from prison or jail. And then I have hundreds and hundreds of letters. I have 2 big binders full of letters from my brothers, from my mom, from other family members that have been incarcerated as well. Even though I haven't been incarcerated myself, it would sometimes become so overwhelming just trying to be there for all of my loved ones. My mind sometimes just made me feel like I was in prison with them.
Dear Kamika, I love you very much, little sister. Hey, yo, what's up, sis? It's your brother.
Hey, Kamika, girl, please take good care of my kids for me.
Love Junior, family over everything.
Being behind bars and some of the places that I've been, it's really, really easy to be dehumanized. And it's easy to be in survival mode with all aspects of life.
Let everybody know that's the most important part while you're in prison. My mother's getting old, my grandmother's getting old, some of my aunties in the past, uncles in the past, and you got to get that phone call telling you somebody passed. All you do is write a letter. I hope everybody forgive you.
It's like the best thing in the world. Or you get some mail because you feel like somebody cares about you. Somebody's actually taking the time out to think about you.
Through writing, you're able to reach a level of vulnerability that, might be difficult to reach in other places. You're able to reach a level of emotional understanding and expression. It really plays a key part in just being emotionally intelligent.
Kamika was always the person that was writing people who were incarcerated. Everybody who would go into jail knew, like, if there was anybody who was gonna be there for them, it was gonna be Kamika.
I was about 9 years old when I took the role on of just taking care of my family. No one forced it upon me, but I remember on my grandmother's deathbed, I promised her that I will be the one to make sure that, the family sticks together. I'll pull together all of the family functions, Christmas, Thanksgiving, and so that's what I plan on continuing to do.
I have a letter that I wrote Kamika when I was in jail. So anyway, Kamika, I know you are the only person I can write, because if I mail it to Mom's, it might be thrown down somewhere and forgotten. When I realized that I had written this letter to her, I was like, oh my God, I put so much pressure on her.
I wrote letters to my mom, my sister, to my auntie Kamika. I wrote letters to my dad, even though he was in jail too. To me, family is just everything. It's just support, it's the love that you get. Some people grow up without family, so they turn cold and they turn to the streets. But if you got family, you got that advice in your ear all the time.
From my oldest nephew, this is when he seen his dad come into his cell. What up, Auntie? I hope all is well. I'm looking forward to your visit this summer. Unfortunately, it has to be under these circumstances, but at least y'all won't have to visit me at a gravesite. I finally got the chance to see my father again. Too bad it had to be like this, but it's better than not seeing him at all. God works in mysterious ways. I'm gonna cut this letter short. I want to get this out tonight so you can send back the visiting form ASAP. And then he signed a little antsy. And our motto is family over everything. So we write that on all of our letters. My mom, Teresa, couldn't raise me because she was in and out of prison and she was on drugs really bad.
You know, it hurted for me to not be able to raise her. But then it made me feel good because I knew she was in good hands.
I was a baby when I went into the foster care system. I went into the McGowan family. In the McGowan family, I was raised that family comes first. We ate together, we prayed together, we went to church together. They treated me as if I was part of their own family.
I started caring for her when she was 6 weeks old. And immediately my heart just poured out for her. I remember her saying, I want to write my mom. She was probably about 11 or 12. And I'm saying, okay, you can write your mom. And I thought this would help her deal with those anxieties she may have had. This is a way for her to express herself and just, you know, be more settled.
I remember being young and waiting for the mail, and then I would ask Mama Deborah, do I have any letters? Oh yeah, you got one on the counter, Miki. It was exciting to just come home from school and open up a piece of mail. It was good. You remember this? A birthday card you sent me?
Oh my goodness, let me see.
Read it.
Dear Kamika, I would like to say now that you are 7, oh, happy birthday from me. She had this all this time. That's a happy moment.
Hey, treasure girl. I was so excited to get my name called and mail called last night. It sure feel good getting pictures of you and your brothers and the loved one.
Dear treasure, I love you very much, little sister, and think of you at all times.
I wrote the play because there's other families that are just like my family, but they just don't know how to move forward. I do workshops with foster youth, writing how you feel. They do take it as, oh my God, why are we doing this? Why are you making us do this corny stuff? And then once the room gets quiet, they start writing about how they're feeling, why they're acting out this way. It's a real, emotional and good experience. One of our students, I had audition for one of my nephew's roles. He said, this sounds just like me writing to my sister. He could totally relate to it. And I said, that's exactly why I'm doing this, because I want you guys to see that you're not the only ones out there going through this.
My dad's been to prison. All my uncles have been to prison. Most of my cousins have been to prison. But I looked at them going to prison and didn't say, because they went, I'm gonna go. I said, because they went, I'm not gonna go. This is the only time y'all ever gonna see me with a CDCR. Right. If I got anything to do with it.
My brothers still are incarcerated. I would never turn my backs on them. They didn't have that family love, that you fall, I'm about to pick you right back up. You fall, then you gonna keep falling until you figure out how to get yourself up. Me and Fred, we tight. And, we could talk about any and everything. And he'd be like, sis, you gotta let it go. He's still fighting his case. So, but hopefully soon, I feel it in my soul that he gonna be coming out.
Yeah, I feel it too.
Dear Lord, thank you for this food we're about to receive. We want to ask that you continue to look over us as you've been doing. We want to ask that you look over our loved ones that are in the system right now that need your help, Lord. Without you, they won't make it out, Lord.
We was young when we met. I think, we were like 11,
I was 12, you were 13.
Mm-hmm. We were real young.
Yeah.
Kamika and I always been best friends. We had off and on relationships. The funny thing is the same guy that hooked us up when we were kids got us back together when we were adults. And I ended up living with Kamika, and I ended up, going to prison. And she was there through the whole thing.
We made a joke of you were incarcerated more than we were able to really court, and so our courting was through the letters. He thought he was a poet, and so he would send all kind of love letters and roses. There was one letter I remember getting, he had a real flower inside of the letter.
I wasn't a natural drawer, so I think I was tracing a lot, and I just wanted to just put a little detail in it towards her, to symbolize between me and her. When you write, it seems like you're sitting there talking back and forth to him. You have all this energy in your mind to express everything. Like a telephone call only lasts a certain amount of minutes, but you can write for hours. I want my grandchildren to read them and find out who I was and what I was going through.
I speak to you from the soul, which burns from within. Time freezes when you speak. Interpretation will not interfere. A visit is brutal at the end, but begins with enjoyment. The enjoyment is your presence. The hurt is the departure. If I inscribe your name upon my flesh, does it mean I'm yours forever? Or does it mean you're mine till death? When Ardell was released from prison from Soledad, he didn't have too much to say on the ride back, but once he got back into the groove of things, I could tell he was a changed man. He looked me in my eyes and he said, Kamika, I'm not going back to prison. I want to marry you and let's just start a new life. We're expecting our first child, a little girl. Her name is going to be Kamika Hebbert. I want my baby to grow up in a home with both her parents. This baby means college. This baby means no prison, no jail. I want this baby to be as pure as she possibly can be. I just want her to have everything that we did not have growing up. When you've been hurt, you sometimes don't allow people into your life to love you. And so you have to be willing to open your heart. You can overcome anything if you put your mind to it. I have an unconditional love for my family, period. No matter what you do, I'm gonna take you in. And I feel like if everybody just loved hard like I do with my family, then the world could be a better place.
Where shall I go? Where have I been? Pass me a bottle, blow some smoke in the wind. It's just another scandalous night underneath ghetto lights. They always say I'm wrong, but they don't understand my life. I'm just trying to eat, so let me be. What's that growl? The emptiness of my being. My methods are scandalous and demeaning, but damn, I'm hungry, so I'm scheming. I'm ravenous like a demon, value cleaning. Out all morals not profitable this season. Something has to change, something has to give. I'm so sorry, Lord, but I can't eat tears. I have no blessings of prosperity, so strangers beware of me. Savagery becomes second nature. Man, I just needed the money, I didn't hate you. My knees are 13, where to eat and stay clean, a decent pair of jeans like the other teens. Dreams of a better life, sleep with no gunfights. Lil Bobby got killed, why? Others don't share, they only snicker and stare. You're broke, who cares, a waste of air. At a tender age, so much rage, I got to get paid. A broke nigga's the worst kind of slave. A product of the environment, a struggle to survive, not misintent. Lord, I'll repent against sent, my soul has dent, why? Lynch don't pay rent. It's a tragedy, unattractively, the ghetto light illuminates the kid who's aspiring to live big, the convict, the bid, finished before I begin.